Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augment Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I'm your host as usual, and obviously welcome back to the show. Today's episode 239 of the show, and before we get started, we're just going to do a little bit of house cleaning quick because you guys even like to do it around here, so it only makes sense to do it. So let's just get on with the house cleaning. I do want to say thank you guys for coming back and listening to today's episode. It does mean a lot to me. You guys constantly take time out of your days to download these episodes, to share these episodes, to constantly keep letting me know how you feel, whether they like my stupid face or not, or my opinions or not, because at the end of the day, it's greatly appreciated. And well, I wouldn't keep doing this stuff if you guys didn't vote on the topics, you guys didn't let me know what you want me to talk about, or if you guys didn't actually care what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, I greatly appreciate it. And also thank you to the Patreon backers as well, so for supporting the show. Obviously, you guys know that if you want to become one of these lucky individuals, or I'd say part of the Patreon backers in general, then you can just click the link down below and become one today. But on with today's episode, because again, I do acknowledge that this episode is coming on a Friday instead of a Wednesday, which, as you know, let's just be honest here, guys, we're nearing the end of the semester. Things get a lot busier. I'm also near my last semester of college. So yeah, we're kind of project heavy right now, and it's just a lot of stuff going on, to be honest with you guys. But today's episode, you guys did vote on it, and it was very interesting because there's a lot of things we could talk about. We could talk about the 4080 that just recently launched. We could talk about the new AMD graphics cards that are coming out. We could talk about price to performance ratios regarding those new GPUs. We could talk about, the upcoming launch of the Pokemon game, which the time that this episode is going live, the new Pokemon game will now be out, and obviously people talking about their impressions, their reviews, and things like that. But we will be talking about video games today. And primarily what I want to be focusing on is just some of my favorite highlights of the year in terms of my personal games of the year, which, yes, I always understand that when it comes to this list of video games of the year or games and categories, it's always very subjective. That's why things like the Video Game Awards are happening next month, where they already announced the Game of the Year nominees, and obviously a lot of them, let's be real, I'd say 4 of the games were a given, obviously Elden Ring, God of War, Horizon, and Xenoblade 3. And then obviously A Plague Tale Requiem and Stray. Some people are more confused about Stray being there, Plague Tale Requiem. If you played it, then some people say it deserves to be in that place. But I want to be focusing on some of my games of the year. And overall, yes, I acknowledge that some of these games are not the most well-polished or maybe the overall highest quality games of the year, but I do feel like it's fair that we talk about them. And yes, clearly there's going to be some that make sense why they're here, but there's also sentimental value that I have with some of these games. And I feel like it's only fun because, hey, we're near the end of the year, and it only makes sense that we just talk about like some of my highlights of this year, because this has been a very great year for video games, to be honest. Like, obviously top heavy near the beginning, but overall as a quality, yeah, I think this has been a very good year. And to be honest, let's start with the first game of my personal list, which is Pokemon Legends Arceus. And there are many reasons why I put this game, to start off my list and things like that. Because one, this is one of the games that I started off the year. And at the same time, this game has a lot of sentimental value for me due to the fact that when I went to New York for spring break to, do the mission trip with the church here in town, that I got the opportunity to go see the Nintendo store in America, and that was obviously a very cool experience. And because of that, I was able to buy some things. I have my Nintendo hat, my Charizard plushie, and then one of the things that I bought was Legends Arceus. And I'd say the attachment that I had because of that good experience that I had visiting New York and just a lot of good things that came out of that experience led me to just actually go through and play the game. And personally, I had a really fun time playing it. And as someone that grew up playing the Pokemon games and someone that deeply loved the franchise, it was definitely a refreshing change of pace. And that has been obviously said multiple number of times. Now, granted, is the game flawed? Absolutely. There's clearly things that I wish they could have done differently. Prime example, like, the graphics, if you want to talk about graphics, yes, these are obviously limitations because of the Switch and things like that. I do believe that if we had more powerful hardware, this game could have been more. And yes, there obviously are some concerns, especially with the battle mechanics and things like that, and just, horribly unbalanced and things like that. But overall, as a game, it was definitely the biggest change of pace that we've had in Pokemon for a while, and it was one of the Pokemon games that I'm going to remember going forward because it was just a fun experience. And I haven't felt that way in a while since, to be honest, since Black and White and Black and White 2. And, that's an understatement because obviously nowadays people circle jerk those two games like the last great Pokemon games ever made, even though I personally really enjoyed Pokemon X and Y when I played through them, and then obviously I played Oraz, and then I played Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield and things like that. To me, Legends Arceus was the highlight of the 8th generation, personally. I think going from there, this actually smoothly transitions into one of the next games, which, spoiler alert, it's one of the games of the year, and it's Elden Ring. And yes, while I haven't completely gone through Elden Ring, I would say my experience playing it was very enjoyable. Like, granted, I just haven't had time to really go through because, let's be real. It's one of those games you gotta pump hours into, homie. And just being honest with you, it's a fun game. I really enjoy it. I see why people really enjoy this game, and I was personally torn of buying it on either my Series X or my PC, even though obviously my PC is more powerful than my Series X. It's just obviously the issues with the PC port that I ended up buying it on my Series X for a more consistent experience. And overall, I really enjoyed my time playing through it. I think it's a very beautifully made game, personally. Is it flawed? Yeah. I think there are, you can make some arguments that there are some flaws with the game, but overall, I do see why this game is considered one of the best games of the entire year. Granted, there's another game that's the big one that people want to compare it to, and we'll talk about that near the end of the list because it's one of the last games I got. But overall, my experience with Elden Ring has been very enjoyable. It's been very fun, and I honestly want to keep going through it because, like I said, I haven't finished all the games, so clearly I got a lot to do still. So I'm excited to pick it up again and keep going through it and experience the whole game. I'd say from there, this is where it gets pretty interesting because I look at some of the games that I bought this year. And well, yes, some of these games haven't, I'll be honest, I want to focus primarily on games that came out this year that I bought. And even though, yes, there are a lot of games that I bought this year that are much older, like primary examples, like I finally got to start playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that game was just incredible. I see why a lot of people really enjoy the game because of the quality, because of the music, the atmosphere, and obviously Final Fantasy VII is probably one of the most jerked off JRPGs of all time. But another older game too was Mega Man Star Force 3. For me, I grew up playing Mega Man Star Force 2, Zerker and Sonora. I grew up playing that game on my DS, and yeah, it was one of the games that I actually went through and completed. And I didn't look up guides at that time. I didn't know what YouTube was. I literally just figured it out as I went along. And it was obviously, if you know the Mega Man Star Force series, you know Mega Man Star Force 2 is not necessarily the best one of the three because let's be real, it's got some major flaws that annoyed the hell out of me. But playing through Mega Man Star Force 3, which people argue is the best of the entire trilogy, that game, I had been looking for that game for such a long time, and to be honest, it was an expensive game. I spent like $250 getting it. But playing through that game, I see why I just genuinely enjoy the series. It reminded me of those good memories that I had growing up playing Mega Man Star Force. And I know, like I said, I wanted to primarily focus this list on games that came out this year. But for me, those are one of the games, that game stuck out to me as a sore thumb because it made me enjoy playing on my DS again. It made me enjoy, like, that's why I went through and bought my 3DSs again. I bought a DS, I bought my Game Boy Advances back, and it overall was it was a fun experience, and I still need to keep playing through it. And obviously, like, I bought tons of DS games and 3DS games for my collection and Game Boy games and stuff like that. But back to focusing on actual games that came out this year, because I know you guys are probably like, okay, shut up, homie. We don't care about the DS and stuff. I know. But the next game, personally, I was shocked that it was not put on the Game of the Year nominees, given how good it was and a quality experience. And that's Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Collection. Like to me, that game was very well put together. And granted, I know it's a Lego game. People are like, oh, well, it's a Lego game, you know, and I'm talking about Star Wars, but it's like the amount of quality, the amount of exploration, like just everything, the depth of the combat and things like that, the amount of detail they put into it was just, I'm shocked. Like, granted, yeah, there was crunch and things like that, and we could talk about, like, you know, TT games and stuff like that, but the fact that the amount of quality that was put in that game is just insane. Like, it was a really good game. Even the Switch port, like, you know, not perfect, but I still think it was a very enjoyable experience, and I have it on my Switch personally. And I just think overall, I'm shocked that game was not put on the actual Game of the Year nominees list, even though it was a very, very good game. And I'm genuinely surprised that it wasn't, even though a lot of people do consider it one of the games of the year, because it was just that good. It was that memorable. The fact that I can talk about it. And yeah, it's Star Wars, you know, like, obviously you're going through all 9 movies, but it genuinely is a very enjoyable playthrough. And I tell people all the time, like, it's a hard game to 100% because you just got so much stuff to look for. But it's a really good game, guys. And if you haven't picked it up, I'd highly recommend picking it up on sale for the Black Friday shopping and stuff like that, if you haven't, to be honest with you. Let's see. I'd say the next game that truly sticks out to me would be Xenoblade 3. And this game, I haven't played all the way through. Again, I'm just being transparent. I haven't played through this game that much. But from what I have played, it's been a very enjoyable experience. Like, from what Monolith Soft was able to do with this game, the fact that, you know, the limitations of the Switch and things like that, the fact that they were able to make a very enjoyable experience, a good story, great music, and for a lot of people, for die-hard Xenoblade fans, they love this game to death. Like, they genuinely are enjoying this game. Like, my friend Hector, he loves the Xenoblade franchise. You know, he played Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade 2. Me and him actually bought this game together. He actually convinced me to buy it. And overall, like, playing through it, I genuinely enjoyed it. Like, playing it through my Switch OLED and stuff like that, it's a very enjoyable experience to just look at. It's a very good game, and it's very beautifully made. And I'm glad personally that the franchise is getting recognized for the quality that they put together, because I'll just be transparent with you, homies. They put together one hell of a game, and I'm very happy with it, to be honest with you. But I don't want to ignore this game, because even though, yes, this is a DLC, I still count it as important, and that's Monster Hunter Rise, the Sunbreak expansion. I started playing Monster Hunter World. Obviously, I owned Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. I own Generations Ultimate. I own both of those games. I never fully played through them because, like I said, Monster Hunter at the time was a bit trickier on the 3DS and stuff like that. Monster Hunter World, to me, has a lot of sentimental value due to the fact that it came out during my birthday in 2018. But Monster Hunter Rise, I just pumped hours into that game. And then the DLC, I just started crunking through that stuff, bro. Like, it was a really well put together expansion, especially even on the Switch. Like, yes, limitations and things like that, but the fact that it's still one of the best games on the Switch and it runs really good, no frame drops, nothing like that. Like, the fact that the netcode is really good. And obviously, yeah, I'm playing it on my Steam Deck now too, on my PC version, and obviously running at 60 FPS. But Monster Hunter Rise: The Sunbreak expansion was really good, I think, for what they did, and like obviously adding G rank and things like that. Overall, it was a great experience. You know, I still haven't played through it, and obviously there's a big emphasis on the end-game grind and things like that, which I just haven't had the chance to go through. Because like I said, this year's been crazy, guys. So much stuff to do in very little time, if I'm just being transparent with you. But overall, it was a very great experience playing through it. And if you haven't played it, or if you haven't gotten into Monster Hunter Rise, I would highly recommend that if you own a Switch, this is one of the games that you pick up. It's just a well-made game that's very fun, a great story, great combat, easy to pick up, play with others. It's a very good game. I'm being honest with you guys. Like, this isn't me just saying it just to say it. Like, it's a good game. And I'm happy that it exists. I'm happy that the DLC was good. And to be honest, we look at other games, and I want to focus a little bit on some indie games. And this was one that my friends convinced me to get. And for my time playing it, like a couple 50 plus hours into it, it's a really enjoyable time. It has a great loop, and that's Marauders. If you're not familiar with what Marauders is, the easiest way to describe it is think of Tarkov, but just not as stiff when it comes to the learning curve of it. And Marauders overall, like it's basically Tarkov in space. You're basically World War I astronauts going into space and looting space stations and killing other people and killing stuff. Like you're just going into space stations, looting stuff, killing people to loot their stuff. Try not to get killed, because if you get killed, then you lose your stuff, and then evac so you can keep all the new stuff. Essentially the cycle that the game wants you to repeat over and over again. And overall, for $30, it's an enjoyable game. And obviously, yes, it's an early access, so be mindful there's going to be bugs and things like that. But I think overall, it's a very enjoyable game, and I wasn't expecting to like it. And it ended up being on my list for games that I remember this year, and I'm still playing through it with the guys. Like, we're still playing it on occasions here every night whenever I get a chance to get on and stuff like that. Now, I say that because there's another game that's been taking up a lot of our time, and that's MW2. A lot of people are going to get mad at me for putting MW2 on my list of games that I genuinely enjoy this year. Personally for me, I grew up, during the time period when Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 3, Call of Duty Ghost, Advanced Warfare, Infinite. I grew up with the more modern Call of Duties. And personally, playing through Modern Warfare 2, it's been a very enjoyable experience, to be honest with you guys. Like, I enjoy playing the multiplayer. Yeah. Is it pretty unbalanced? Yeah, I agree. It's pretty unbalanced, and some of the leveling up is kind of annoying because, let's be real, to get some of the attachments for some of your guns, you have to use other guns, and I'm just like, bro, let me just use this gun that I'm trying to use to get all my attachments for it. I don't want to have to use all these other guns, level them up to a certain point so I can get these stupid attachments for my other gun that I want to use the most, and it's just annoying. There's obviously some things. And the campaign, I haven't played through it, but, people are saying it's mixed. Some people are saying it's good. Some people are saying it's bad. Some people are saying it's great. Some people are saying it's terrible. It's all over the place. Personally, I haven't played through it. I will be going through it, but I personally really enjoyed Modern Warfare 2. And then obviously with Warzone 2 coming out, I've played Warzone 2, and yeah, I do enjoy it. I think there's some decent upgrades over Warzone 1.0, and I'm excited to keep playing through it more so I can generate more thoughts about it. But yes, there are 2 games left, and really these are the last 2 games I'm buying this year. One of them I've already bought, and I posted on my story, the collector's edition and stuff like that, and it's God of War Ragnarok. This game, I've been waiting for this game since the pre-orders went live in July. Obviously, this is the first collector's editions I've ever bought, and I'm very happy with it. Not only with the quality of the stuff that came with it, but just the game itself, like playing through it and the immersion I'm having with it. Like, yeah, I still have to go through it. I'm probably like under 5 hours into it. Like, I still have to make more time to play it. It's just, from what I've played and enjoyed, the game is just very rich, to say the least. And this is someone that loves mythology. Like, I love reading Norse mythology, Greek mythology. I like playing Smite because I like reading a lot of the info about the gods and things like that. And just getting to see Ragnarok, going through like God of War Ragnarok, and just getting to see the events of Ragnarok unfold is just very enjoyable. Like, it's just cool to finally see this stuff actually in motion. It's just really breathtaking. And I personally believe that if you have access to a PS5, I highly recommend that you buy this game. It is one of the games that people have been waiting on this entire year for a reason. It is just that damn good. And the last game hasn't come out yet, and I haven't got my hands on it, obviously at the time it's recording. But I'm very excited for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and here's why I say that. I'm not going to go into leaks. I'm not going to go into information. But what I will say is that it definitely seems like the Pokemon Company has tried. Now, at the time I was recording, I've acknowledged and I've seen the Twitter threads that are going on with the performance issues. We acknowledge those. We're not pretending that's not an issue. That's a really big issue. And obviously some of those issues have been attributed to the VRAM of the Nintendo Switch and it just not having enough. This is why people are asking for a Pro version of the Switch, a more powerful version of the Switch with more RAM and stuff like that. Overall, I do think Scarlet and Violet, for a lot of the changes that have been made, whether it be competitive, whether it be the overall gameplay loop, and a lot of the changes that have been made, I'm very excited to play them. Now, I'm cautiously optimistic because of also these performance issues. I'm being honest with you guys. It's looking pretty bad. I'm still excited and I probably still will buy it day one. Or I'm going to buy it, I'm just gonna wait a little bit to make sure that they patch things out and like, hey, let's get this thing running smoother and optimizations and things like that. But I think overall that's gonna be my last game that I buy this year because I don't really see anything else that I wanna buy this year. I'm being honest with you. Like next year is gonna be huge. But for me overall, those are the games that stuck out like a sore thumb for me this year, guys. Like, these games were very well made. Like obviously all of them are good in their own right and they all have their pros and cons. It's just these were the games overall that stuck out to me, and it's just I'm able to talk about them in detail, like off the top of my mind. The fact that they stuck with me, that they in many ways they made me feel something, and that's kind of weird to say that, but I overall enjoyed it. Yeah, and I played other games, like we played Overwatch 2. Yeah, we played it. I'm gonna leave it at that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, what are some of your favorite games that came out this year? Like, do you agree with mine? Do you think I got bad taste? Or maybe there's some overlap, or maybe there's some other games that I'm just not aware of that you guys have played? Because let's be real, there's a lot of great games that come out, a lot of great indie games, a lot of other AAA games and stuff like that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, what you guys think. But to be honest, for everyone that is going to be playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, hey, I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck going, like, when this game comes out, because yeah, the issues are pretty bad, guys, but I think a lot of the surprises are going to be pretty fun. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Again, thank you guys for being very patient with me and you know how long it took this episode to get out here, to be honest with you guys, but I really appreciate it at the end of the day. And I hope you guys have yourselves a wonderful week and weekend. Don't do anything dumb, guys. Please be safe. Please continue to be kind and courteous to those around you, because let's be real, the world is still a weird place, guys, and let's just try our best to, well, take care of one another. That's the best thing we can do, and that's the only thing we really should be doing, is just watching out for one another, because the world is still a weird place. But be safe, guys. Have yourselves a wonderful week and weekend, and have fun playing Pokemon. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there, thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.